Biggest stage, the defending champions ready to claim their place in history. An already celebrated and decorated bunch featuring a Heisman quarterback and a cast of veterans that has been here and done this. On the Oklahoma Plains, an old dynasty has reawakened. The Sooners surging from the college football fringe to become the last of the unbeatens when no one else believed they did. The Seminoles and the Sooners for the title.
College Game Day National Championship Preview is presented by Discover Car, proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
About 45 minutes to kick off as the intense 40-year-old Bob Stoops visits with the grandfather, Bobby Bowden. Stoops with 18 wins in his career. Bowden has 17 bowl wins, going for title number 3. It's a matchup of the top 2 finishers in the Heisman voting. Winner Chris Winkie, the 28-year-old. We promise this is his final college game. And Josh Heupel, the southpaw from South Dakota. Welcome to the BCS championship game, the battle for the Sears Trophy. That one, not this one on Corso's head. I think a Miami fan snuck in there. There's a hurricane sticker on the front of that. I hate to tell you that, Lee.
Right.
This, of course, is the battle of the top 2 teams in the BCS standings. Miami has made its statement of the AP poll, and we'll hear from Butch Davis in just a second. Florida State, very much a dynasty already. This would be their 3rd national championship in 8 seasons. Already 14 consecutive 10-win seasons. A win tonight would make it 14 straight top 5 finishes. That's amazing. In the last 15 years, it's been a rarity for a team like Oklahoma to come from the preseason number 20 slot to play for a national championship. 2 years removed from a dismal 3-8 campaign. Theirs has been a Cinderella story. They're the big underdogs, but they absolutely hate that label. Reports on both teams. First up, Steve Seifert. Steve?
Chris, if luck has anything to do with winning a national championship, consider this for the Sooners. All season long, not one starter was lost to an injury. You can take a look at the starting lineups for offense and defense from the first game to this game, and by and large, they are essentially the same. Now for a note on the Seminoles, let's go to Shelley Smith.
Thanks, Steve. Well, if Florida State has one big question mark, it's because of the graduation of Sebastian Janikowski. It's their kicking game. Bobby Bowden said it's not where he wants it to be. It's been a big problem for them all year. But Brett Cimarelli will kick any field goal 30 yards and under, and Matt Munyon will kick it over. I mean, it's a big problem for them, but they're looking for that type of game tonight.
Yeah, they're hoping it doesn't come down to a field goal, I promise, even though Bowden does feel that the most improved part of his team is the kicking game since midseason. Guys, mindset always a huge factor in a big game like this.
Well, it is huge in his football game because Florida State's been here. They've done that. They've had a lot of experience in dealing with the hype of national championships games. It's kind of part of their regular season. For Oklahoma, a lot of talk for the last 4 or 5 weeks that they're not accustomed to dealing with this kind of pressure. Don't believe the hype. There's Josh Heupel. They are accustomed to it. They played in the Big 12 championship with everything on the line, even though they were undefeated. They love this underdog role, but I will say this. The first 15 minutes of this football game are crucial. Florida State will come out intimidating Oklahoma. Oklahoma needs to hit them back in the mouth and see how Florida State will respond. Not many teams can do that. If they can do that, we could have a 4-quarter game.
Well, Kirk, if experience means anything, Florida State definitely has an advantage. 20 players on the Florida State roster started the national championship game, but here's a beautiful one. 5 of those 20 have started 2 national championship games. Are going for 3. So confidence and experience, I think the edge goes to Florida State here.
The Noles are used to all this stuff. The Sooners are not. The Florida State players a little bit miffed. We talked to a couple because a lot of Oklahoma stars are not showing up at those luncheons and those press conferences. You got the 5th string unknown guys showing up instead. Now, we mentioned Miami has claimed his stake to the national championship in the AP poll should Florida State knock off the top-ranked Sooners. Most of the AP voters, according to some unofficial canvassing, would continue to rank Miami over FSU. This AP voter certainly would. Man is very interested in the outcome of this game, is with our Tony Barnhart. Tony?
Thanks, Chris. And of course, yes, I am with Coach Butch Davis. Now, Butch, you said you went on record last night about Miami should get the national championship in the AP should Florida State win tonight. But I want to know if Oklahoma wins, in your heart of hearts, would you have liked a chance to play Oklahoma?
Oh, absolutely, Tony. I think that certainly on the strength of the fact that beating Florida State earlier in the year, beating the #2 team at that time, Virginia Tech, I think we should have certainly gotten an opportunity maybe to play in tonight's ball game.
Okay. Well, Butch, relax, enjoy the game, and try not to get too nervous, okay? Chris, back to you.
I think he's going to replace the mascot in the offseason. He was so upset that Ibis jumped out there and got a 15-yard penalty. One of his players, by the way, is Chevy. Plays for the Hurricanes. Big brother Torrance, a Miami native, is back home to play for the Sooners. There's nobody in this place more intense than Torrance is. We'll be back.
Today's show is presented by Discover Car, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day.
Well, even if the Seminoles win, this could be a tough night for Snoop Minnis, Florida State's most productive wide receiver, a Miami local, missing out on the chance to play in a championship game in his hometown. He thought he had his grades in order, but he did not. You know that Chris Winkie may miss throwing to Snoop Minnis tonight. Winkie, for years now, has heard the noise. He's too old to play college football, too old to win the Heisman Trophy. Well, at times he almost does seem too poised, too efficient, too methodical, too good to be a college football quarterback. He, of course, won the championship a year ago, decided to come back, and as Shelley Smith reports, now he has a shot that is, well, twice in a lifetime.
I've taken the road less traveled. No question that I haven't been your typical college football player.
Through the hands of Warwick, and this one picked off. NC State with the 5th interception of the game.
He's being helped to the locker room.
Dropping when he throws toward the end zone. Caught, touchdown! Ron Dugans, touchdown FSU.
I want to be prepared as I can be when I go to the next level. Hopefully that opportunity will be there.
And so the legacy of Chris Winkie continued. At age 28, Winkie returned to Florida State with one national championship under his belt, looking to add another, which to many has been almost a natural evolution.
He was just such a hard worker and a student of the game, a guy that just was trying to soak it all up. When you're coaching a guy who really wants to be great, it's a lot of fun.
He's struggled, but he's handled all of it with character. You know, he never let it got him down. Seems the more struggles that he went through, the more determined he was to show people that he was going to make it.
A perfectionist, you know, a guy, a great competitor, you know, a guy to go out there, you know, try to win. He lay him on the line every week. And, you know, that's our emotional leader. That's our leader of this football team.
Hobbling and hurt, Winkie's status for the Seminoles' October 7th battle with Miami was questionable at best. Trailing 17-0 at the half, Winkie led a furious Seminole comeback that ended with wide right 3. Ironically, it was in Florida State's only loss that Winkie's legacy and Heisman chances were solidified.
I don't know how he played. He couldn't even walk all week long. I think about the first time he warmed up was when he took snaps in the game. Unbelievable courage. And then to go out and throw for almost 500 yards and put his team in position to win, you know, in the fourth quarter. That's just Chris Winkie.
In the second half, he was just determined that we were going to win, and put us in a position to win. I think he lit Miami up. I think that's where he won the Heisman.
With the Seminoles still on the outside and looking in on the BCS, Winkie saved his best for last. Against number 10 Clemson, he threw for 521 yards and 2 scores. 2 weeks later, while battling the flu, Winkie led Florida State to a 30-7 victory over Florida, a victory that put the Seminoles in the Orange Bowl and all but won Winkie the Heisman Trophy.
My goal wasn't to win the Heisman Trophy, but the one thing that I really want is that Sears Trophy. And there's nothing more satisfying than being able to hold that national championship trophy. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would have all these chances. Not only, first of all, to come back to school and play, but to get a second chance after an injury, and then to make a decision to come back for my senior year and have these things work out the way they've worked out. I don't think that I could have written it any better.
Winkie was one of the first players on the field. He looked very stern, very serious. There's no doubt he wants this win tonight. Chris?
And Shelley, he is healthy. He has not always been healthy in big games. No IVs like before the Florida game. He's raring to go.
You know, Chris Winkie leads the greatest offense in the history of Florida State University. They're #1 in the nation with 549 yards per game, and he averaged 42 points per game. And he does it with good offensive balance. Florida State threw for 36 touchdowns this year, but they ran for 29. But this is the one key stat that puts Winkie above all the others. He answers the opponent's threat to the nose better than any quarterback I've seen since Roger Staubach. Answers the opponent's threat. Chris Winkie, national title.
You know what, Mark Richt, the offensive coordinator for Florida State, headed to Georgia, deserves an assist with the maturation of Chris Winkie. As far as getting him ready for games, this year in 12 football games, you know how many times Florida State has punted in their opening drive? One time. Chris Winkie is 30 of 41, 446 yards with 4 touchdowns in those opening drives. The Noles start fast. Oklahoma better be ready early with the defensive game plan, because the Noles are going to come out firing.
We'll talk more game plan coming up. Oklahoma's defense very tough in the fourth quarter. You better get to them early. Bobby Bowden perhaps talking to his team about their chance to get a piece of history. We'll come back to the Orange Bowl buildup after this. Well, Josh Heupel has lived his life for a moment like this. He could read defenses before he could read. A coach's son, attending meetings since age 5 or 6. His has been an incredible journey to get to this national championship game, from South Dakota to a junior college outpost in Utah, finally to Oklahoma, and a brilliant 2-year career. He was deeply disappointed not to win the Heisman Trophy, mostly because he knew that his family and teammates would be disappointed. He's long since forgotten about that as the focus has turned to this national championship game and a rematch with Chris Winkie. Here's Steve Cyphers, the most famous South Dakota native to play football maybe since Norm Van Brocklin.
It was many years ago in Aberdeen, South Dakota, when Ken Heupel first noticed something different about his son.
A lot of kids will play with trucks, toys, computers, computer games, that type of thing. Josh was never. I mean, it was always ball.
Always ball, with his cousins in the yard, with his dad, the coach, at practice.
He was coaching with me. I mean, we'd go in the huddle, and he'd be right next to me at 6 years old. And I would say something in the huddle, and I'd walk out, and I could hear him say something in the huddle, and he would walk out as well.
Those were important times. Ken, the head coach at Northern State University in Aberdeen, didn't know how important until he talked to his son last year in the offseason.
I said, Josh, I said, I really apologize, you know, for all the years that I was gone and that type of thing. And he made me feel pretty good. He looked at me and he said, Dad,
those are the greatest memories of my life. When I'm a coach, which will be someday in the future, I hope my kids enjoy being around me and the players as much as I did.
And when you think about it, absolutely true.
This season, Ken created his own opportunity to be with Josh. On 3 Saturdays, after getting approval from his players and his school president, he missed Northern State games to watch his son lead the Sooners.
The things that he's instilled in me are work ethic, confidence, getting yourself prepared, never going to battle without having spent every ounce of energy to be prepared.
And aren't those your strengths?
I think there's no doubt that those are my strengths.
He doesn't beat himself up, but he's very critical of himself. So when somebody says, well, Josh should have done this or should have done that, it doesn't bother him because he knows already what he should have done.
There's no doubt that I'm going to be the hardest on myself. I have the most to gain, the most to lose.
He truly loves the competition, loves the game, loves the challenge.
Pick this up! Pick it up!
What strikes me about when we recruited Josh, he only had one question for me after we recruited him for a couple of days. Can we win a Big 12 championship and a national championship here in my years, in the 2 years that I'm going to be here? And my answer to him was yes, we could. With him directing things, we could get that done.
Heupel is now 1 win away from reaching that goal in the warmth of the Florida sun. Far from the frozen field in Aberdeen, far from the bedroom of a young Vikings fan with a vivid imagination.
He had a locker in his room, and he had Rashad and Kramer working with him, and he was playing. You know, everybody thinks this is his first national championship game, and it is, and he's played millions of them.
Did you ever get beat there in your bedroom?
No, I've never been beaten in a championship game in my bedroom, and hopefully that translates to a win over in Miami.
Chris, a championship of a different kind came in grade school for Josh. He was wrestling. He was 4-0, undefeated. He just worked his way to the title match before he told his dad, hey, that's it, let's go home. It's a long drive. And his dad said, yeah, we'll go as soon as the championship match is over. And he said, no, I want to go now. Josh never wrestled a championship match. He retired undefeated 4-0, and Mark Mangino was thrilled that he got out of wrestling.
Steve, we haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't left the ballpark tonight. He's sticking around for this championship game, and he says his elbow continues to feel good. I think he really appreciated the more than a month off he's had, Kirk.
Well, he's needed it to get healthy throwing the football. The defense that he's going to face tonight, the Florida State Seminoles, much is made every single year of their front four and their ability to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks. This year they've been very good, with the exception of the big games. When they played Miami and Florida, they had a combined 1 sack in those 2 big games. Tonight against the Oklahoma Sooners, I think they're going to play a lot of zone and rely on that front four. I think Oklahoma needs to run that football to try to collapse that defense and then maybe throw the football for big yards, because Oklahoma needs to be able to face man to have the kind of production they want.
Kirk, I saw Josh Heupel play 4 times, and I was tremendously impressed with his poise, his toughness, his courage, but most of all, his ability to make the play when his team needed him the most to win the game. I've never seen a guy make about 5-6 plays a game, and all of them win every game I've seen him. That guy's a winner.
Some of those plays, though, have to be downfield. I just really believe they have got to be able to, vertically stretch that Florida State defense. Otherwise, they're going to count on receivers breaking tackles, and the Knowles secondary was brilliant against the Gators. Exclusive club of coaches have won 3 national titles. Barry Switzer has 3. Bowden would like to get his 3rd in the next few hours. Welcome back to the build-up for the FedEx Orange Bowl at Pro Player Stadium. The countdown to kickoff continues. We talk about the X and O part of this right now. When Oklahoma has the ball, first of all, besides Josh Heupel and that inexperienced group of receivers who have played so big all year, and the little smurf Curtis Fagan, the running back, what are the keys?
Well, I think Florida State this year has played more zone defense than ever before, and I think they're going to play a lot of zone in this football game tonight. If that's true, it's imperative that Oklahoma find ways to get their talented running back, Quentin Griffin, into the football game. Get him the ball in different ways, whether it's the draw, the screens, the shovel pass right there. Get the ball to Quentin Griffin. He is a perfect mix for this spread offense. They love to get him there on the draw. He led the Sooners this year in all-purpose yardage. And I think by getting him the football early in the game against the Knowles defense is really going to get upfield. It'll enable the Sooners to get Florida State's defense to collapse down. And that's when you get man-to-man situations. And that's when Josh Heupel loves to throw the football.
Okay, I'm going to tell you Florida State's defensive plan against Oklahoma and Josh Heupel. Number 1, they're going to stuff the run. Yes, sir, and they're good at it. They're number 1 in the nation in stopping the run. They will hit you from all angles on rush defense. Here they are against the Gators. Watch. Bing, bang, boom. Next thing, they're going to force Oklahoma into a one-dimensional passing game, and they're going to go after old Josh Heupel. Now, Florida State is good on pass defense, and I'm going to tell you a stat you won't believe. You know why? They've had 447 passes thrown them against them this year. That's the most of any football team in the nation. Now, if Heupel wins this game, he's going to have to win it against the best pass defense in the nation.
Well, they played huge against Florida, and we all know Oklahoma's offense has struggled down the stretch. They have to recover that rhythm they had in October, which was amazing. Now, when Florida State has the football, they will face an Oklahoma defense that's been very tough to get to late in games. Go back 13 games, Lee. They've allowed a total of 5 fourth-quarter touchdowns. They get stronger as the game goes on.
And they're strong inside the red zone. That's one of, I really am impressed with Oklahoma's defense inside the red zone. Remember, Florida State leads the nation in scoring offense. They score 42 points a game. But the one area where they lost the Miami game was place kicking. Well, now they got a new place kicker, and I like him because he's an Italian. Brett Cimarelli, 23 for 29 extra points, 6 for 9 field goals. Oklahoma is tremendously tough inside the red zone. We saw Texas A&M first and goal on the 4, national title. Boom, they stopped them. Oh, Brett is going to need good play.
Italian Stallion, see if he can get it done. You know what? In the last 5 games, the Oklahoma defense only gave up 3 plays of 25 yards or more. A big reason was the development of the young cornerbacks. They continue to play better and better. These guys are young, but they have a lot of guts, and that's what it takes to play defense at Oklahoma, because they put you on an island at times. Derek Strait and Michael Thompson. The first is Michael Thompson, a talented player, long arms, and he's very smart, becoming more instinctive. Derek Strait this year came up with a number of big plays, a newcomer of the year this year in the Big 12. The reason it's important that the secondary plays well is because Florida State kills teams with the big play. Look for Oklahoma to play very soft tonight. Try to keep the Florida State receivers in front of them and come up and tackle. That's the biggest key to the football game. The Oklahoma secondary tackling Florida State. Make them drive 80 yards in 13 plays. None of the quick scores that Florida State did to Virginia Tech last year.
I'm with you, and defensive players will tell you when you have a long layoff, sometimes tackling is the first thing to go. Right. Some X factors here. It was drizzling earlier. Weather shouldn't be a factor. There's no wind. The turf between the hash marks has been replaced. Divots have been coming up after warm-up. Keep an eye on that. By the way, the official for tonight's game, they are Big Ten officials. They have not been told to flag each and every infraction and show of emotion like we saw in the Sugar Bowl, so don't worry about that. Predictions coming up next.
Today's show is presented by Discover Car, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, your home for college football on the internet.
Remind you, the Sports Center post-game coverage will be here to the wee hours on ESPN2. Supermarkets all over the country have been sold out of oranges all season long. They have been thrown on the field of the college football hotbeds, including Norman, Oklahoma. It has all come down to this. It's not in the Orange Bowl Stadium, but right here, Tony. That's what it's all about. What happens? Does Florida State add to an already solid dynasty? Does Oklahoma get that first national championship in more than a decade?
Well, Chris, I've thought all season that Oklahoma has been a team of destiny. They've played with heart every time out. But an old coach of mine once told me, you know what? Speed and talent beat destiny every time. Oklahoma's going to play like a champion tonight, Kirk. But in the fourth quarter, that speed and talent is going to win out. I'll go with Florida State.
Good pick, Tony. I think when you watch this football game, watch the first 15 minutes. Florida State starts fast. They're going to come out, play with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. It's up to Oklahoma to match that. It's their first time in this game. We've heard all along about the hype of the football game, how they'll deal with that. They need to punch back at Florida State, let them know that this is going to be a 4-quarter game. The key to the game is Oklahoma's secondary tackling. The reason I'm going with Oklahoma to win the national championship is because it's a destiny, and Tony disagrees with me. Oklahoma beats Florida State. OU gets it done.
All right, you tell me.
All right, we've got one pick for Florida State. We got one pick for Oklahoma. I would just not go against Mr. Winkie. I don't think Oklahoma is going to be awed or intimidated by this. I think they'll put up a good fight. I think their defense is good enough to keep them in this game. I don't see the Sooners scoring a whole bunch of points because of what Kirk said. I think the Florida State secondary will do a good enough job of tackling after the catch, and I worry about their ability to be able to stretch the FSU defense. So I'm going to have to go with Florida State, but I think it'll be a struggle. Lee,
Oklahoma.
That's it.
There's
Very
not
simple.
much suspense here, Lee. I got to be honest.
Forget all this analysis stuff. Oklahoma is hoping to win the game. Florida State is expected to win. So I'm going with the nose. Yes, sir.
That's a shot.
Look at that shot right there.
Done.
OU, baby. We'll see.
All right, we'll see. You'll be here after the game.
I will.
Kirk sees an undisputed Oklahoma national championship. Lee, Tony and I all agree that an FSU victory would mean a split national championship. After ABC Sports takes over from here, we're back on Sports Center with our post-game coverage. We will see you then. Enjoy the ball game. We'll be on ESPN2 later on.